Ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed students, welcome to this detailed analysis of the novel Fathers of Nations. And this book is analyzed by yours truly, Paul Njogu Karaoke.
Onyx December.
Miss Victoria.
The panelists are really experienced teachers. Personally, I've taught at Karima Girls High School, Utumishi Academy. I've taught at Oletipis High School. And now here I am taking you through the book. Perhaps we could also get the profile of Onyx and Victoria as we proceed.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Onyx December. I'm a teacher, an author, an editor, and also an examiner. I teach at Inkoile Boys High School in Kajiado County. I trust that you are going to do this well, and I hope that you'll enjoy the view. Welcome.
Esteemed audience, my name is Victoria Mwasya. I'm a teacher at Machakos Girls High School. I hope we are going to do this together for the benefit of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to the critical analysis of the book. And as you can see, the title, Fathers of Nations. Both words are plural, fathers and nations. And I think we will start off by my colleagues talking about the title, talking about the setting, and also telling us more about the author. And I think I will start off with Onyx. Sir, what would you say about the setting of the book?
Thank you, Mr. Paul. The setting of the book, Fathers of Nations. The book is set in the contemporary Africa in the recent past, precisely in the year 2013. The much that we can talk about the setting is that Fathers of Nations is set in the post-colonial Africa. That's after independence. And it is set in a country in Africa called Gambia, the capital city of Banjul, in a 5-star hotel. And there is where the action takes place. The heads of state, 49 visitors, and 1 host. We have the contemporary Africa, as we've said, characters from countries Kenya, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and Libya. The contemporary Africa here, we mean that the names, the places, like the University of Nairobi, where Professor Kimani Karanja is a lecturer, those are names that we know are from Africa. However, the characters are basically created because we know that there is no president in Africa who is known as Dibonzo. But contemporarily, we do understand that Banjul is a city in Africa, Kenya is in Africa, South Africa is in Africa, and those are the countries. So that is ideally what I can say about the setting. Now, about the time frame, we cannot precisely say that this is the time that the action takes place, but we can precisely say the characters are approached at a different time frames. As we are told that Kimani Karanja was approached around 6 months. Melusi Comrade was approached about 20 years thereafter. Pastor Chineke Chiamaka, the action takes place 4 years thereafter. So the experience happens at different times of the book as we know. I trust that we'll continue the conversation thereafter. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Onyx. At least that is a very good overview of the setting. And it is good to note that the Gambia, as it is just a representation of African countries. Therefore, the setting is Africa. And when we go to the Gambia, remember that is where all African heads of state are at the moment. And therefore, whatever is happening around the Gambian capital, Banjul, is just a representation of what happens in the entire Africa, in the 49 countries as at the time of writing this book. I think, Madam Victoria, you could also mention about the author, and you can also mention about the significance of the title, Fathers of Nations.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to start with the author. Paul B. Vitta was born in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam, and he is one of the renowned African writers. What is interesting about this writer is that he didn't start off as a writer. He even doesn't have that background of literature or most of what some of the renowned African writers have, or the kind of background that they share, usually a background in literature, in linguistics or whatever. This is a man who studied physics, and he did so well. He is a PhD. At some point, he worked in the University of Dar es Salaam as a professor, and after some time, he started working with, I could say, departments or projects that deal with governance in Africa. For example, African Regional Center for Technology in Dakar, that is in Senegal. He has also worked for the International Development Research Center in Canada. And given the kind of writings he has done, majorly on political satire, I could guess or say that I think his works on issues development in Africa has pretty much informed the kind of writer he is, because he delves so much on how African government run their business and whatever goes on pretty much in the political scene in Africa. And his books are very rich. And any other person who would like to read about the African political satire or how the political business is conducted in Africa can really enrich themselves by reading Confessions, Dry Water, and especially Fathers of Nations that you're discussing today. I think that is all.
Did you know that you can now watch all Setbook video films anywhere and at your convenience? Download Soma Sasa app from the Play Store of your mobile phone and choose the Setbook video that you desire to watch. Click play and start to enjoy watching our KICD approved Setbook video films and other e-learning videos. It's that simple. Download Soma Sasa app from the Play Store, choose a video and enjoy watching. Soma Sasa app. Masomo Mkononi. Soma Sasa app, your mobile phone revision partner. Call us on 0722-751375 or visit our website www.climaxpublisher.org. Soma Sasa app, modernizing education.
Thank you. At least that is pretty much about the author. And I believe it is quite interesting how this man, Paul B. Vitta, a professor of physics, decides to become a literary guru, decides to become a writer. I think he must have been pressed by some situation. And whatever he is writing about, when you are having some really difficult situations, they force you to do things that are away from what you normally do. So for a professor of physics to write a book as good as this, like one that would be written by a professor of linguistics, it shows that really he was really pressed by whatever was happening. So the title, the author, at least we have seen, he is a person that has seen much, and he is a person that is so much interested in bringing sense and sobriety in the governance of Africa. Madam Victoria, to you too, I don't know what you would say about the title and why Paul Vitta decided to call the book Fathers of Nations.
Okay, Fathers of Nations, that is the title of the book. The word fathers means a father could be a parent. By a parent, I mean a biological parent. We also have fathers who are not biological parents of their children. But whenever somebody, gets to be called that name, there are some expectations that come with it. There's the aspect of age, yeah. For you to be addressed as a father, it means you have to be older than the person who is calling you. Usually that would be a child or some other person who would refer to you as such. Again, we expect fathers to be loving, to be caring people. We expect fathers to be very giving of themselves to a point of even sacrificing, self-interest for the sake of those that they call children, or those who address them or view them as their fathers. Then there's the word nations. So here we are looking at somebody who is not just a male parent in the aspect of the family or in the setting of the family. We're looking at someone who is being viewed as a father of a nation, someone who is in charge. So the book pretty much talks about the heads of states in Africa, and they're the ones who are being referred to as fathers. You're going to, when you read the book, you realize that most of these people most of these presidents, are actually the men who steered their countries to independence, especially at the time of colonization. They worked hard together with other people who had a similar kind of understanding that their African nations needed to be self-ruled, independent from the colonialists. And a good number of them are actually people who pushed for that. And that very well earns them the title, Fathers of Nations. What happens here, as much as we have our expectations of how a father or even a head of state should conduct themselves, is quite much very satirical and ironical, I could say, to what we have in mind. You'd expect a father to be very loving, to be very giving, a father to sacrifice, a father to have the interest of the citizens of their nation at heart. But here we see men who are just, pretty much engaged in selfish business. They do not care pretty much about what becomes of their citizens, how they live their lives, the poverty levels, and how to improve, their living conditions. The story is set in the Gambia, and there are 49 heads of states that have been invited for a summit that is meant to see them readopt a development strategy, owing to the fact that Africa is still undeveloped, or rather underdeveloped. So at the time, there were issues of concern that African nations needed to be developed. So previously they had adopted Way Omega, and now they are going again to a summit, 49 of them, in addition to the host president, that is the president of the Gambia in Banjul, to go and readopt Way Omega. It seems to be the only key thing in the agenda. But unknown to them, there is another development strategy headed by one guy called Tad Longway. He works for AGDA, Agency for Governance and Development in Africa, who is also very passionate in development in Africa. The difference between these two projects, or rather development projects, is that Tad Longway and a group of 4 men he has recruited to pioneer his agenda, or rather his project, is they do not believe that Way Omega will deliver the development in Africa at the end of the day, because they have seen it at work and it has failed African people, it has failed the African nations these heads of state are heading. So AGDA has come up with a development strategy. It's called Path Alpha. When you look at the cover of the book, you're going to see there's a stamp and then there's a document. The stamp is written rejected, and then there's the stamped document written approved. Reading through the book, you're going to see that at the end of the day, as much as we had Way Omega being what the African presidents were going to adopt, is rejected through a trick, or rather a choice matrix that sees it succeed at the end of the day. And whatever they had on the agenda, Way Omega, what they were going to adopt, is defeated and it fails. So the book ends with a hope that the implementation of Path Alpha might just offer the much needed development in Africa. Over and above that, during the summit, even before, reception of these presidents, whenever they are visiting a country for whatever reason, is always a pain. From deciding which hotel to take them, to which floors and rooms, because as we know, African countries, they are known for bringing so many delegates with them. And they also are people who are very keen to be as comfortable as possible. In addition to that, there seems to exist conflicts among these heads of states. When the organizers of this summit begin to plan, they look at the relationships, they look at the seniority issues, because these African presidents, some of them come from nations that are deemed to be senior than others. So it would be offensive for someone who is deemed senior to be treated in a way that would make them feel, disrespected or not addressed in the manner that they would be comfortable being addressed in. So what happens is they have a lot of work sitting down and deciding which room do we give, which wing do we give to this person, and how many delegates they are bringing and where to place the delegates. And even after that is done, the seating arrangement in the summit area, the venue where the summit is being held, is also another thorn in the flesh of these people, of these organizers. You realize the existing conflicts among African nations mean the presidents are also at conflict. So when you make a president sit next to another head of state that they consider an enemy, then it becomes another issue. So it's a lot of planning, it's a lot of pain for the people who are given this responsibility. Over and above that, most of them are very old people. And as a result of that, they seem to have feelings of superiority. They're very egocentric people, and they're prone to anger and conflicts, not just to other people, but also amongst themselves. You can see them, losing temper very fast for no reason at all. Yeah. So basically, this political satire looks at things, issues that African presidents conduct the business of adopting way omega, but at the end of the day, they end up adopting way path alpha, And you also realize that it is done in a way that is not expected. Yeah.
For the most comprehensive, detailed, and KICD-approved guidebooks of the current setbooks, Bembea ya Maisha, Mapambazuko ya Machweo, Nguu za Jadi, Parliament of Owls, An Artist of the Floating World, The Samaritan, Fathers of Nations, and A Silent Song and Other Stories, choose Climax 3-in-1 Guidebooks. Climax 3-in-1 guidebooks are written by teachers of long-standing experience in both teaching and examining KCSE examinations. Climax 3-in-1 guidebooks have 3 booklets under one cover. Booklet number 1 is dubbed From the Examiner's Desk and contains tips on how to tackle KCSE English questions from Paper 1, Paper 2, and Paper 3 looked at through the eyes of experienced examiners. Booklet number 2 is an episodic approach study notes for setbooks, comprehensively written to suit your revision. Booklet number 3 is model KCSE questions with guided answers. Climax 3-in-1 guidebooks are the best setbook guidebooks in the market. Other Climax 3-in-1 books are Climax 3-in-1, a guide to mastering KCSE poetry. Climax 3-in-1, a guide to mastering KCSE oral literature. Climax 3-in-1, a guide to mastering KCSE composition writing. Climax 3-in-1, Mastering English Paper 1. Climax 3-in-1, Mastering English Paper 2. In Kiswahili subject we have Climax 3-in-1, Insha Kamilifu. Climax 3-in-1, Fasihi Simulizi Kamilifu. Climax 3-in-1, Sarufi Kamilifu. Climax 3-in-1, Mwongozo Kamilifu wa Ushairi. Climax 3-in-1, Marudio Kamilifu ya Kiswahili. If you want to make your learning easy, effective, and enjoyable and achieve the grades you want, always insist on Climax 3-in-1 books. Climax 3-in-1 guidebooks are available in all bookshops and bookstores across the country at the most affordable prices. Call us on 0722 579 271. Climax 3-in-1, your ladder to academic excellence.